Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for another poetry discussion. This is a poetry discussion that will take place in 3 separate playlists here on the channel. Number 1, the poetry discussion playlist. Number 2, a playlist for New Hampshire by Robert Frost. And number 3, the playlist for the 2021 National Poetry Month playlist. I'll fuck that up, that's fine. But we're doing a poem every day here in the month of April 2021. 30 days, 30 poems. 30 days, right? Yep. 30 days, 30 poems. Mondays are for Langston Hughes. Tuesdays are for Sylvia Plath. Wednesdays are for Charles Bukowski. Thursdays for Emily Dickinson. Friday for Charles Bukowski. And Saturday here for Robert Frost. While and whereas Sunday will prove as a catch-all. So today we are doing a poem. Where are we at here? Called, from the notes section, A Star in a Stone Boat for Lincoln McVeigh. Now this is a bit of a longer poem, so I apologize ahead of time. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a poetry reading of the poem in question, and then we're going to go into a talking point about the poem. But I am going to trip up along the way. I always do. The poem, A Star in a Stone Boat, reads as such. Never tell me that not one star of all that slip from heaven at night and softly fall has been picked up with stones to build a wall. Some laborer found one faded and stone cold, and saving that its weight suggested gold, and tugged it from its first to certain hold. He noticed nothing in it to remark. He was not used to handling stars thrown dark and lifeless from an interrupted arc. He did not recognize in that smooth coal that one thing palpable besides the soul to penetrate the air in which we roll. He did not see how, like a flying thing, it brooded ant eggs and one large wing, one not so large, for flying in a ring. And a long bird of paradise's tail, though these when not used to fly and trail, it drew back its body like a snail. Nor know that he might move it from the spot. The harm was done from having been star shot. The very nature of the soil was hot, and burning to yield flowers instead of grain, flowers fanned and not put out by all the rain, poured on them by his prayers, prayed in vain. He moved it roughly with an iron bar. He loaded an old stone boat with the star, and not, as you might think, a flying car. Such as even poets would admit perforce, more practical than Pegasus the horse, if it could put a star back in its course. He dragged it through the plowed ground at a pace but faintly reminiscent of the race of jostling rock in interstellar space. This has been rough, huh? It went for building stone, and I, as though commanded in a dream, forever go to right the wrong that this should have been so. Yet ask where else it could have gone as well. I do not know. I cannot stop to tell. He might have left it lying where it fell. But from following walls I never lift my eye, except at night, to places in the sky, where showers of charted meteors let fly. Some may know what they seek in school and church, and why they seek it there. For what I search, I must go measuring stone walls, perch for perch. Sure that, though not a star of death and birth, so not to be compared perhaps in worth, to such resorts as life as Mars and Earth. Though not, I say, a star of death and sin, it yet has poles and only need a spin to show its worldly nature and begin to chafe and shuffle in my calloused palm, and run off in strange tangents with my arm, as fish do the line in first alarm. Such as it is, it promises the prize of the one world complete in any size, that I am to compass, that I am like to compass, fool or wise. And real quick, a second read through. No, I'm just fucking with you. What I would like to talk about here is perhaps something which touches on the greater meaning of this poem, or a greater meaning of this poem. But second, something that is tangentially, directly related to that, but tangentially related perhaps to the greater meaning of this poem. Look, what this poem says to me, communicates to me. It communicates about blindness. It communicates about not being in the moment. It communicates about not seeing the forest for the trees, right? The first individual, the original person in question here by the speaker, this laborer does not see the beauty in what he has. The laborer thinks that there is some worldly value to this rock, that surely this is gold because of the heft of it. Some laborer found one faded and stone cold, and saving that its weight suggested gold, and tugged it from his first too certain hold. Did not see the beauty of the wonder that he had, only saw the beauty of the wonder which he hoped to find. That first individual tugs this stone all the way back to where he's from. All this labor, all this work, for all this heft, only for it to prove folly, because it is not what he wanted. It is so much more than gold. It is a former star. It is a fallen star. It is what was once the center of its own little part of space, its own little corner of the universe. Instead, he's looking simply for gold, something with worldly worth. He doesn't find it. The second part, the second blindness here, is the blindness of our speaker. Our speaker who does not see the stone in question because he does not know how to see. He knows the ultimate beauty that it will possess, but he has to find it because he can't just look out and see it. So our first subject, that laborer, sees a stone, says, "Hey, what's that thing?" Figures it must be gold because it's so heavy, but he's not found gold. He's found a star. He's looking for gold, doesn't find it. Our speaker is looking for a star, but he keeps finding just regular bricks in a wall until he finds the right one. So he's introduced as such. From following walls I never lift my eye except at night to place in the sky where showers of charted meteors let fly. Some may know what they seek in school and church and why they seek it there. For what I search, I must go on measuring stone walls perch on perch until he finds it. But he cannot find it by sight. He has a certain type. He knows for what he looks. He does not know he does not know where to find it because he can't see it. So the great message here is not only to know what you're looking for, but to know how to find it. If that original laborer had known how to find the gold versus just sort of assuming, well, it's heavy enough, that must be gold, right? He would have been much more likely to find gold in his search as well, as is the final recipient of the star here, our speaker. What is the metaphor? What is the star? It could be that's the open metaphor in the poem, right? If we're looking at perhaps something romantic, our original laborer in the poem, the original subject, what he's taking a lover and saying, okay, I've got you as my lover, right? But don't you really want to bring me beer and do my laundry? Like, isn't that something you're interested in, right? The second guy, the speaker, he's looking for a special someone who likes to read Hemingway. So he's going library by library, straight to the Hemingway section to see if there's any books missing, and then he tries to see who took it. That's what the second guy is doing. He's hunting, really. So that is what I got from A Star in a Stone Boat. A quick poetry discussion here on the channel. I try to keep poetry discussions fairly brief, and it's going to be hard with Robert Frost and these longer poems. But yeah, that's what I have, and I have new videos on the channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at least. Mondays, at least, are for poetry. But here, like I say, in this month, there's going to be a poetry discussion every day of the week, every week of the month. And there will be new videos on my personal channel as well, a link to which can be found in the description below.